I'm Melissa.
And I'm Mike.
Welcome back to True Crime Thursday. Dun dun dun. So
You know,
what?
quick note. Sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
but quick
Yeah, go for
note
it.
on True Crime Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
I think the feedback has been good, so I'm glad we're doing these. I'm glad we're going to keep doing these because we've gotten a lot more views and engagement on the YouTube channel for these
Nice.
than we were
Nice.
for the old game time. So yeah,
Oh,
the people like this. Go
the
ahead,
people
continue.
approve. We love that.
They have spoken.
That's what we strive for, is just approval
Yeah.
from the people. So, today we're going to be talking. I'm mostly going to be talking, but I feel like I carry the reins on. I'm a yapper. What can I
Yeah.
say?
Especially for
Uh,
True Crime Thursdays, because this is more your area of interest, I guess.
it's
If we
also
started doing
uh,
Marvel Mondays, then I'd be in charge.
it's also difficult sometimes to go back and forth like in a thing. So like I tell some facts and then you tell some facts, whatever.
Yeah,
We're just
yeah,
gonna we're just gonna go with it in natural
yeah,
A&M podcast fashion. We're winging it.
yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about the Ellen Greenberg case, which you have said that you know nothing about.
Nope.
Um, which makes sense because if you're not somebody that really listens to like podcasts, you might not know about Ellen Greenberg. Mostly because this happened in 2011.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
So
it's an older case too.
it's an older case, but to this day, it's still going on. Her parents have pretty much put their entire savings into the case and information regarding it, and just all that stuff as well. I believe as of recently, the feds are taking over the case and kind of looking into it themselves. Up until I believe this month. Um, the reason is because this case was ruled a suicide. And before I get into like the uh the whole thing, it was ruled a suicide and she had 20 stab wounds to her body, many of them being in her back and her neck. There was one that was in the back of her head that went so deep it went into her brain. And I don't know about you, but I don't know how they ruled it a suicide,
Yeah.
but because they say that like it's even a lot for a person to stab another person 20 times
Right.
because you're going through like muscle. And I don't think that I mean, just logically, I don't think that after you stab yourself even 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, you're still going to have energy to keep doing it to yourself.
I'm
So
reading notes on this case because I've never heard of it, and it's fascinating.
yeah. So this started on January 26th, 2011. Ellen was a school teacher. She was a first grade teacher in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And it was a super snowy day. And I believe she got sent home early from work on this day. And she went back to her apartment. She also has a fiance, Sam. And she went back to their apartment, which was a luxury apartment out there in Philly. And when she went back, she went inside. She clearly, based on the evidence afterwards, once they were looking in the apartment, she had made herself a little snack. She made herself a fruit salad that was still out and on the table, and some of it was on the floor. Some pieces of it were on the floor. When she got home, her fiance was also home, and he actually left the apartment mid-afternoon ish to go to the gym. So they lived on the sixth floor in the apartment building, and he went all the way down to the first floor apparently to work out. For I believe he was gone about 40 minutes to an hour later. But I did see something that said 30 minutes later. So I don't know. He was gone less than an hour. And yeah, when he went back to the apartment to try and get in, the door was locked from the inside. And I think at first he had started texting her, and the text started out normal. He sent her quite a few messages in a row. Started out normal at first. Hey, can you open up? Hey, what's going on? And then he started to get, madder and meaner as the text went on, like, hello, hello, open up. So they had one of those swing latches on the inside of the door,
Okay, I was gonna say,
and
well, if it was his apartment, like he should have a key.
I don't think he probably didn't take I guess he didn't take his key down to the
True.
gym,
He
or
didn't
I
maybe.
don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, he couldn't get in, and there was a swing latch on the other side. So when he was able to get the door open, but with those latches, it could only open like a
Yeah.
very small amount.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He opens it that much, and he's kind of like peeking inside and yelling inside, Ellen, Ellen, open up. um I suggest everybody looks listens to, I don't think we're able to like attach it or anything like that here, but I suggest everyone listen to his 911 call that he makes, because I don't know.
Tell you what,
To
I'll if I can find it, I'll drop it right here.
to me his 911 call, not to be anti-Sam, but I'm a realist, okay? And if it quacks, it's a duck, okay?
Right.
Um so when he opens the latch, he can't really see anything. Ellen's not coming to the door. Somehow he breaks the door down and gets inside, breaks the latch, gets inside, and he sees her laying there on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
He calls 911, and again, he said that she was laying on her back in the kitchen, and the 911 operator was instructing him. She asked if Ellen was dead, and he was like, I don't know, I don't feel a pulse, I don't know. Acted real clueless, but maybe in a way of panic. I don't know, maybe anyone would act like that. Who knows?
Right.
But the 911 operator instructs him how to do CPR, and she was laying on her back, or her stuff. I don't I when he like lifted her shirt up to do CPR, he was like, "Oh my gosh, she has a knife in her chest." If she was wearing a shirt, you would see the knife anyway. So to me, he acted like he realized over the phone that there was a knife in Ellen's
Right.
chest.
Right.
And I feel like that's, if you get stabbed 20 times, there's going to be a lot of blood, and you're definitely going to see a knife sticking out. It wasn't a
Right.
small little, like, paring knife
Right.
that
Right.
was used. Like, it was a decent sized knife. Um, so the 911 operator ended up obviously having police come by. It was a 10-inch knife protruding from her chest. But again, his reaction, listen to the 911 call, and you can tell me, let me know. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm just being judgy, but you let me know what you think. It sounds very like fake, and like he's acting, trying to act
Okay.
surprised. Like, oh my gosh, she has so many stabs on here. Like, what? I feel like if
Yeah, it
I
just
walk
doesn't
in
sound
and my
genuine.
fiance is laying on the floor with a knife in their chest, I'm gonna, everyone reacts to things differently, but I'm gonna be not just like, what? A knife in his chest? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Just Like,
Well,
whatever.
and the thing is, like the way you're describing it, and again, I haven't heard it, but I will have dropped it back there before if I can find it. Um, uh, you know, I don't know if I don't know. Like if it's like you're describing it, it sounds fake.
So he also mentioned, a red flag to me as well is that when he was on the phone with the dispatchers, one thing he also mentioned was um, that Ellen might have stabbed herself or fallen on a knife. That's what he said once he saw the knife in her. He said she might have stabbed herself or fallen on a knife. Fallen on a knife, bro. Come on.
Yeah,
It's
that
just
doesn't
great.
sound like
It's just very crazy. So, from between January and April 2011, Philadelphia police initially they treated the scene as a suicide initially. They were pointing to basically the locked door. There was no sign of forced entry. The door was locked from the inside, and she also had no defensive wounds, indicating a struggle. Details
yeah, which
suggested no third party was involved.
I um I don't know what they mean by no defensive wounds though.
So usually um
Maybe
any kind of scratches,
under okay.
yeah, just yeah,
Maybe
signs of
skin under the fingernails or something like that.
mhm. Yeah, she had no sign of like basically the way her body looked, it looked like somebody just stabbed her 20 times. There was no sign of a fight, I guess. But when you look at when you look at also just kind of when they talk about the scene and what the scene, it seems very staged to me.
Where everything was positioned and that.
Like where everything was positioned, and then I feel like I've watched a good amount of true crime in my day, or listened to a good amount of true crime in my day. And I don't think I've ever heard of something where specifically it's a suicide where somebody would make themselves a meal beforehand and just not eat it. I
Right.
don't
Well,
think
that
she would have made herself a fruit salad just to wait for her boyfriend or fiance to leave. And it also was such a small window as well that,
right.
you know,
Yeah, and I mean, so you think about okay that you said they were on the eighth floor or the sixth floor,
sixth floor.
sixth floor. Okay, so could the guy lock the door from the inside? And, I assume they had a fire escape or something like that. Could he have gone out the window and gone down the fire escape? But you think somebody would have seen that too?
Right. So apparently too, that's so it's funny that you bring that up. So that was another detail because that I remember reading is that outside of their window, it didn't look like it was a really snowy day, and it didn't look like it was one of those nor'eastern storm moments where it's just yeah, snow day type snow.
Mm-hmm.
Um Apparently outside their window where you would I guess assume that somebody could have escaped if they, lock the inside and then escape out one of the windows and go down or something like that. Um there what by the time at least the investigators showed up, there was no sign of footprints outside or anything like that. It all just looked like a blanket of snow. Now, if it's a big snowstorm, that snow's always coming down, but I don't, yeah, that's the weird part.
Right. Right.
How now I will say, um, when investigators showed up, the, um, the hatch was already what is it? What's the lock? Now I'm The the
The deadbolt, the
the lock, whatever the lock he
lock.
broke,
Yeah.
that was already broken. So
Right.
at that same time, it's kind of his word against theirs.
True.
You know, just hypothetically speaking, this is, just my opinion, but nobody else saw him not able to get into the apartment. It's really
Right.
his word against theirs. Like, saying, "Hey, I couldn't get into my apartment. Just so you know, I broke the lock on it."
Right.
What's to say he couldn't do something and then break the lock later?
True. True.
You know, just uh, just my own detective work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, um,
I did find the 911 call, by the way, so I'll drop it in back there.
yeah, yeah. I want you to listen to it too. It's
Yeah,
just
I will.
very
I'd put it on here right now, but I'm not sure what it's gonna play, so I don't wanna just drop it in without checking it
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, no, it just I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
it's interesting because I had never heard about this case before you mentioned it, and
mhm.
so I figured I wanted to get your take on it and just give opinion on it, but then you were disappointed that I hadn't looked it up, so I did. The one weird thing to me is the information I have, and this is from the Philadelphia Inquirer. It says it was
Yeah,
actually initially ruled homicide, and
yeah,
then a few days later, well, it says shortly after. I don't know what that means. The same medical examiner that ruled it homicide said it was suicide. So that almost seems weird to me because it makes me think, like, was the fiance politically connected or had
yes, in
money
some way. Yeah,
or
he has.
something like that? Yeah.
Apparently he has. I don't know. I heard something. I think that something about like his parents or his family or something like that has.
Okay.
Yeah,
Continue.
some
Just
kind
wanted
of
to
connection.
mention that.
So yeah. So an autopsy the next day, the assistant examiner um is who counted 20 stab wounds. There were 10 to the back of Ellen's neck, and that's a fact most forensic specialists find very unusual for self-inflicted wounds. Again, like, and there's a lot of them too, like that they say are almost physically impossible for a person to do to themselves. Again, I don't think a person can stab themselves 10 times, let alone 20.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Especially
at some
when
point the loss of blood comes into play with your strength too, like
exactly. Exactly. So, and again, those areas aren't, I can't imagine, easy to even get enough force to like do to yourself.
mm-hmm.
I think you can maybe get enough force to like do one in the chest, but I don't think if you're doing like suicide. Also, to be real, like, I think also in most cases, if somebody's trying to do suicide by stabbing themselves, they're not going to go through stabbing themselves 20 times. Like, that's just torture,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Most people can't even like give themselves a shot, let alone stabbing themselves all over their entire body 20 times. It just doesn't, that alone does, it's the part of the case that is makes it so um mysterious.
Right.
So yeah, there were 10 to the back of her neck, and the medical examiner also noted multiple bruises in various stages of healing. At first,
Mm.
he did rule it, yes, he ruled it a homicide. And then weeks later, after meetings with the police department, um, it was changed to a suicide. There was no detailed explanation for why. And that is when her parents kind of were shocked and came into the mix. The suicide classification meant no criminal investigation would pursue a killer. So, yeah, because of that abrupt switch from homicide to suicide, that became one of the like main controversies of the case, obviously. especially because that there was no public explanation of why there was even a change to it.
Right.
I think at least if you're going to switch something just that extreme from homicide to suicide, there should be some
Yeah,
type
you
of
should have a
explanation why.
very yeah, you should have a very solid explanation for that change.
Yeah. So by April 2011, the official medical examiner report was revised, and that's when they listed it as suicide instead of as the manner of death. The Philadelphia Police Department maintained that stance as well due to the lack of evidence of forced entry or a struggle, which is basically their why they said that. Now to me, I just feel like there's not enough evidence for. I just think every most times that somebody dies, even if it is accident, they immediately always go to the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the husband, the wife, like whoever that person is dating, they're
Right,
always
right,
the number one person. I feel like they didn't investigate, my opinion. I feel that they didn't investigate the boyfriend or the fiance
right.
hard enough. Especially just given the fact that nobody else, he admitted that he broke the lock, but what's to say that that lock even was locked and he couldn't get in?
Well, and how about this? If I was the prosecutor trying to convict him, did he break the lock because she locked him out? Because you talked about bruising in various stages of healing, which to me means or could mean, not means, because I don't know, but could mean that it was an abusive relationship and he'd been abusing her, and that's where the bruising came from. And maybe they had an argument, and she locked him out, and he came back, and he was angry that he was locked out, and yeah, he broke that lock, and then he went in and did the stabbing, and then waited a while and called 911 as if he just got back. Like, you don't know the timing of when that lock was broken. Was it broken before she was killed or after? Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that's
and that's another thing. I guess so. She went to therapy because she had, I believe, she had anxiety. So she went to therapy,
mhm.
and according to her therapist, she never really talked about negatively about Sam. She never, said that they had any troubles or that
Mhm.
he was abusive.
Mhm.
As far as everyone knew, like, yeah, he wasn't like bad to her at all. Um, and but with that being said, she also never showed any signs of like being suicidal as well to her
Right.
therapist
Right.
or to anybody. And again, like it doesn't even make sense to make yourself a snack and then stab yourself 20 times right after
Yeah.
your man leaves to go to the gym. That also
Yeah,
doesn't
the
make
and the
sense.
the interesting thing to me about what you said about them classifying it as a suicide instead of a
Mhm.
homicide is basically then there was no criminal investigation. So
Well,
the
yeah,
it
true.
so basically you stopped the process because you said it was suicide
Yeah.
when I don't understand, like in a case like this, you'd think you would like do a little bit more of an investigation into the scene, the crime scene, and all that, before you would, I mean, I think they can say, inconclusive. And in a case like this, where some people think it was this and some people think it was that, you think that would be the appropriate, like, response would be to, you
Right.
know, have some sort of a criminal investigation continue to see what you can find out. So the fact that you would do something like that that would stop that makes you go, it's
So
suspicious.
investigators actually did return back to the apartment, but by the time they returned back to the scene, it had already been basically like swept. Like it already was clean, and
Oh,
Her
sure.
electronic devices, like Ellen's phone and computer, had already been removed by a relative of Sam.
Wow.
Or, no, Goldberg. Oh, Ellen, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, no. Goldberg is Sam.
Oh, yeah,
She
Sam.
was Greenberg.
True, true,
Yeah.
true, true. Duh. Yeah, so a relative of Sam. I believe, if I remember correctly, his relative is a lawyer, I believe,
No. Okay.
from what I
Hmm.
remember reading.
Interesting.
So yeah, her phone and computer had already been taken by Sam's relative.
Family. Yeah. That's
Um,
wild.
these actions later became points of dispute over proper evidence handling because why are you sweeping the scene and cleaning it
Exactly.
up before
Exactly.
a full investigation is even done and concluded, and we aren't coming back here ever? You can handle it.
Right.
Which I
Right.
know, like, a lot of people, that was like a big controversy even when it came to but I guess, to be honest, since it wasn't a homicide anymore and it was ruled a suicide, it kind of also was taken as like, okay, we're done here.
Right.
um Because I know, yeah, like, since there's not a criminal investigation and they're not trying to investigate anybody for it, it's kind of like they just finished the case. They said it was
Right. To
suicide, and
close the book
that
on it.
is what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny
Um.
because just going through, like, as we're sitting here, I'm looking at some of the arguments for why people in the know, people, experts, I would say, thought it was homicide versus the
Mhm.
ones that thought it was suicide. And the arguments for it being homicide are so much stronger
Yeah.
than the ones for suicide. It's really crazy. Like, I'm not going
Yeah.
to go through all of them, but just as I read them here, it's I mean, the ones I'll give you an example. The ones for it being suicide are the fact that the door was locked, that the knife was left on the scene, the mental health history. Although she didn't have, if she was seeing a therapist and the therapist said she wasn't suicidal, well, then that's that kind of wipes that out. And again, the lack of defensive injuries, which you already talked about. Um, and some forensic interpretation of the wounds, although the one that went through her skull or all the way, to her brain, that is, to your point before, that's tough to do yourself. And then no clear suspect or motive. Well, that would be the exact reason, I guess, that you wouldn't want to stop the homicide investigation or, a murder investigation before you knew, because that's where you would find that kind of thing out. So yeah, there was no clear motive or suspect, but you really didn't investigate it far enough.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah, and even the stab wound to the back of her head, like, nobody's going to do that and put the knife that deep in the back of their head anyway. Like, again, yourself, like, you can't even, like,
Yeah,
get it. Like, I don't know. And it was a 10-inch knife. Like,
yeah,
again, it wasn't like, maybe I just have, I've been told I have short arms, but, like, I just, I don't see it happening.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I feel like
and
if
then you
you,
keep stabbing yourself. Like, you don't have
yeah,
enough energy after just stabbing yourself in the brain to keep, like, what?
the
And
final
then,
one in your chest, I guess, because that's where he found the knife. Um,
which
and
he
I mean,
left
if
it
you
there because
wanted
they
to,
did say, the 911 operator, she had said, like, okay, don't touch the knife, like, don't touch it.
yeah,
But
um,
again, even then, it's his house, so even if they did do forensics and checked for fingerprints and DNA, like, him and her lived there, so his DNA
yeah,
is all up in that house anyways, like, naturally.
exactly, yeah,
So all we would find out is, like, no intruder came in, but
right.
what's to
Yeah, I
say
just I
that?
feel like if you were suicidal, if you decided you wanted to kill yourself, right? They actually say, like, one of the worst ways to die is by being, like, stabbed, because you,
Hmm.
like, the first of all, it's painful, right? Somebody stabs you, it's very painful,
And it's not as
and
instant.
it's a slow process. Yeah, you're good because you're going to bleed out.
Hmm.
If you think of that case of that girl on the train that was stabbed,
Oh, yeah.
um, like you literally saw her, the life come out of her on that video.
Hmm.
And so, like, I feel like if you wanted to, why would you pick such a painful way to do that if that was your intent? Like, there are a lot of
Hmm.
much quicker, much less painful ways to do that than like stabbing yourself 20 times.
Exactly. Um, so between 2019 and 2022, so jumping way ahead, um, this is when her parents kind of came into the mix of it all. I mean, obviously they were always in the mix and it never
Sure.
made sense to them but this is kind of when they started to push back on all of it because they refused to accept that the just the suicide ruling in general. They were like, no, that didn't happen. Our
Mm.
daughter did not do that to herself. Like, you don't always know what people are going through, but I know my daughter and she didn't do that. So they ended up getting attorneys and forensic experts, and then in October 2019, they filed a civil lawsuit against the Philadelphia Medical Examiner Office and Dr. Osborne, who eventually he's the one who ended up switching it to suicide. Um, they did that to challenge the manner of death on her death certificate because they also didn't want her death certificate to say suicide.
Right. Of course. Like, no, of course.
um, so their experts, her parents' experts, they highlighted inconsistencies such as a locked door with no third party seen, which is what I was saying. Like, it's basically his word against
100%. That's what
everyone
makes it
else's.
odd. That's what makes it odd that the police found no sign. They said that the police found no signs of forced entry. The lock on the door had been broken. How can you that to me that's a tainted crime scene right there. So you can't make a judgment as
Yeah.
to whether or not there were signs of forced entry because the
Yeah.
lock on the door had been broken. That is forced entry.
Hmm. He had also told I believe I think it was the 911 operator. He had he had told her that like they had no argument recently or anything, which, if you're,
Right.
if you don't want people to think that you had an argument or that you're the person that did that, of course you're going to say everything was hunky
Yeah.
dory.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, and then also what was weird was that even I remember reading the I think it was the paramedics that showed up to the scene. They were heard saying something like, we got to get out of here to go down to the basically like down to the station to, assuming they were going to be interviewed because they
Right.
were at the scene.
Right.
And I apparently they were never, they never even had to go down to the station. They were never interviewed. Like the
That's
paramedics were never interviewed, and usually I guess they're interviewed because they're at the
because
scene,
they're
they're
like the
seeing what it
first
looks
ones.
like.
Yeah, they're probably the
Yeah.
first ones there.
Mhm. But nobody ever spoke to them in the first place. Um, so yeah, the parents experts highlighted the inconsistencies like the locked door with no third party seen, bruises in various phases of healing, and questions about how someone could self-inflict 20 wounds, including in um in hard to reach areas like the back of her neck.
Right.
Which, I mean, I guess bruises in various places, like, shoot, I have bruises in various places, because I'm just clumsy and
Right.
I bruise like a banana. I'm bumping into everything all the time. Like,
Yeah.
so, that one, I don't know. Like, okay, that one you can say go either way.
Right. But well, here's the thing to
That
me.
one you can make excuses for. Various
If
places,
you
bruises, like,
yeah, if she hadn't been stabbed 20 times. Once
Right.
somebody's been stabbed 20 times, that's material. That's not immaterial
Mm-hmm.
because that
Yeah.
could mean something. It might
Yeah,
not
for
mean
sure.
anything, but it could
Yeah.
mean something. And
But now
again,
it's a part of
when you're
it.
talking
Yeah.
about stopping an investigation before you determine if there's any value in that evidence,
True.
that's just crazy to me.
So in 2022, the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office reviewed the case and again upheld the suicide ruling, which is a decision deeply criticized by her family and
And when was that?
a lot of other forensic specialists. 2022.
2022. Okay.
Yeah, so pretty recently. Around the same time, the case was returned to the Chester County District Attorney's Office after concerns about conflicts. So, yeah, I mean,
Conflict.
her parents definitely have been fighting
Pushing it.
this.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
good for them. They should.
I mean, there's
So,
again,
but
there's
what kind does it say anything what they meant by conflicts?
mm-mm.
Oh, I'd like to know. I'd like
Conflicts,
to
I'm
know.
assuming, if I had to assume, I would say just in terms of like things that kind of got in the way of the investigation, like the fact that her
Right.
laptop and phone immediately were missing before they
Yeah.
even
Again, that
could
goes
scrub
to
the
like
scene.
tainted, tainted crime scene. Well, but I mean, conflicts to me could also mean connections between like
Right.
family members of the fiance and
Yeah.
you know the investigators or the people in government, again, other people in government.
Mhm. So between 2024 and 2025, well, okay, in 2023 is when a Pennsylvania court characterized the original investigation as deeply flawed. It permitted the city to appeal, which delayed any civil trial. Then again, in 2025, authorities commissioned a re review of the evidence, which found three additional stab perforations and dozens more bruises, bringing totals to 23 stab wounds and 31 bruises. Still, the chief medical examiner, um, oh wait, hold on. Yeah, the medical examiner reaffirmed the suicide determination, citing psychological factors and the absence of evidence for an intruder. So they still, even with the three additional stab wounds, over 30 bruises, they still say no, it's a suicide because there's no sign of an intruder.
Which
The call is
again,
coming from inside the house.
yeah, which again is crazy to me because how you can say that when he broke the door in. There was no sign of forced entry. He broke the dang door in. Like what?
the the Greenbergs, her parents, they called the report disingenuous and argued that forensic protocols were misapplied and that key specimens like spiral cord tissue weren't re-examined thoroughly.
I think you mean spinal cord tissue.
Spinal cord, spiral cord. It is spiral. Sorry guys, like do I look
Sort
like
of.
a doctor? No. Like I said I was tired. My eyes are starting to like go cross-eyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. That's just
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Well, and
If all cases worked like this, shoot,
right. And
everyone would be
so
not guilty.
so did your update go to to this year or to last year?
Yeah,
That was
that just there was in
that was in
2025,
October 25. Okay, because I had that in my
where
notes.
they found the additional stab wounds and
That I didn't
bruises.
have. That's
That
that's
was in
that's wild.
2025. Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, I did do see something that says in February of 25, a former medical examiner involved in the case said he no longer believes Greenberg died by suicide and suggests the case should be
Yeah.
classified differently, prompting a new review. Like this, did you say though, because I didn't have anything about the FBI getting involved. Did you say that the FBI was getting involved in it or had gotten involved in it?
The
Because
feds.
I
So,
mean,
well, yeah. So in 2026, well, so uh, late 2024, the Chester County District Attorney's Office announced it was placing the case into inactive status. Um, and it cited that the current evidence did not meet the standard to prove a criminal homicide beyond a reasonable doubt. Even though they left the door open for future investigative leads. So yeah, end of 2024, that's when they pretty much closed the books on it and said like, sorry, it doesn't meet our standards. Then 2026, Supreme Court and federal interest. Uh, Two major developments unfolded this month. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court agreed to hear arguments on whether the Greenbergs have legal standing to challenge the manner of death on Ellen's death certificate, which is a key procedural question with implications for civil and criminal filings. Federal prosecutors reportedly requested documents tied to the case as well, signaling potential inquiry into investigative conduct. There's no criminal charges have been filed yet with them though, but they did request info on it, which I don't think they're gonna waste their time on that for no
Right,
reason.
right, exactly. Yeah, just, I mean, wow. And when does your timeline say that happened?
That
The
was this month.
federal.
That
That
was
was,
this
oh,
month.
that was very recent, which makes
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
case
They
very
just
timely.
they
Okay.
literally weeks ago, like
Wow.
2 weeks ago, maybe a
Wow.
week or two
So
ago.
this is another one we're gonna have to watch and keep give updates on.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel bad for her parents just because, I mean, your daughter dying in the first place isn't something that parents should experience anyways,
Sure.
especially in such a tragic way. Um I mean, shoot, 20 stab wounds, that's more than Brian Koberger put on one of those
Yeah.
kids.
Well, that's what
He
I was
put
thinking of.
he
Yeah.
did less stab wounds to the children there,
Yeah. Yeah.
let alone someone doing it to them, and he was exhausted. He was
Yeah.
still exhausted at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. Crazy. This
so
one. This is
yeah,
definitely one we'll have to
hopefully
keep an
they
eye on.
get yeah, hopefully something comes of it cuz it does not make sense. Um
No.
I think no matter what way you look at it, please do not tell me there was no forced entry. Like, yeah, the lock was
Yeah.
broken. What do you mean there
Yeah.
was no forced entry? That
He
is forced
broke
entry.
that's like
No
that
forced entry
part of it
is
just
like,
doesn't make sense.
yeah, I mean, even to say, oh well, he knocked it down or he broke the door in because it was his apartment and he couldn't. So apparently, too, this is a little fun little tidbit as well. So when he couldn't apparently like get into the apartment, I think he went downstairs to ask the I don't know, like doorman or whatever, the
Yeah,
front
yeah.
office person, if he could help him get in the apartment or whatever.
Right.
And I guess that guy said, no, he can't do that. He's not allowed to do that.
Interesting. Interesting.
So, but again, I don't even think anyone interviewed that doorman to even see if that
Well,
happened or if that was just a
yeah.
made up story.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Who knows?
cuz here's the thing there, like, okay, so maybe that did happen, right? And maybe he went down and did that because he was looking for an alibi, because he was looking for, hey, somebody else can come up with me and, and they can find the body instead of me finding it. And that way, it won't be as suspicious. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I mean, I know nothing about this guy, nothing about the situation other than we've discussed here, right?
Yeah.
But just the data that's there doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you would say
Mhm.
no signs of forced entry when the door had been broken in. And his story was he broke it in, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, but then you can't say there were no you didn't have the ability to determine if there were signs of forced entry because the
Yeah.
door had been broken in. So like
Right.
you're creating evidence, or you're making a determination that you don't have evidence to support. You don't have a way to have the evidence to support it. Just makes
Yeah.
no sense.
Mhm. And then the fact that I guess people just keep like the not even just people, but like, these higher up people that you assume would have a lot more common sense just to say,
Right.
well, no, there's no sign that a stranger didn't break in. So,
Right. Right.
like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I always thought in these kind of cases, like the significant other is always the first person they're looking at because, that's just, a large percentage of the time with cases like this, that's who did it, So
Especially
the fact
when,
that they didn't like follow that up a little bit more to me is just something doesn't smell right.
I mean, especially when like she's found in their apartment with 20 stab wounds. I would
Yeah.
assume that he would be questioned
Pretty hard. Pretty
pretty
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the fact that that didn't happen makes you wonder about political connections or money
I
connections or
mean,
something like
here's
that.
here's here's something like I don't know, maybe we can like look into this case too, but um it involves a younger girl, so I kind of hate that. But
Yeah.
it's that David case. Have you heard anything about that?
David. No, I
It's that
don't know.
singer D4VID. So he's like an artist and he does TikTok music and stuff, I guess. But I think he's in his early 20s, I believe. And they found this young girl, this 14-year-old girl, um, dead in his Tesla frunk. It was her body decomposed real bad that they could barely tell that it was even her.
Oh wow.
And she was in his Tesla. She was found in his Tesla when they ran the plates. The Tesla was abandoned somewhere, and then
Okay.
someone basically like called like, "Hey, this Tesla's been sitting here for a long time. Can you come get it?" They look at the plates. Well, it goes to the tow yard, and then they end up finding her inside of it. Then they run
Oh.
the plates. They see that it's his Tesla. Guess who is like the number one suspect for that case?
That would make
David,
sense. Yeah,
because it's his Tesla. Like
that would make
he's not
sense.
sitting there like what? Like maybe she killed
What?
herself and like
Yeah.
in my trunk. Maybe she
Climbed
like
in there.
got stuck
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah.
and then nobody would just be like, "Huh, I guess that
Yeah.
makes sense."
Yeah. 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 I mean, you
Oh,
know,
so you didn't do
there was
it?
no.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Were there any signs of forced entry into the frunk?
Yeah.
Because if there weren't, it's probably that she did it to herself. Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to talk about that one another time.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yep. So,
all right. Well,
yeah.
I hope you thought this was an interesting one. If you stayed all the way through,
Hmm.
and if you didn't, shame on you. And let us know what
Shame
you
on you.
think about it. What are your thoughts on the case? Maybe you know some things about this case that we didn't cover, so you could share those with us. We're going to do some follow-ups because there's actually one specifically of the cases that we've talked about already that I found some more information since we discussed it. And it's not really. I found it on the internet, so it might not be true, but it's very interesting the stuff that I found.
Right.
So we'll do like updates on some of these cases as appropriate.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Thanks.
Well, have a great day, everybody. We will see
Good.
you next week. Peace out.
Bye. Bye. Bye.